Hey, this is Dr. Gary Sprouse, the Less Stressed Doc, and I want to welcome you to the Happiness Highway podcast. And we're here to try and get you on that highway to your happy place. And we want to get rid of all the obstacles that are in the way of keeping you from there. And today, we have a special guest. It's Carol Ibex. Thank you for being here. She's great, right?
Drive on Happiness Highway, a beaming smile on my face.
So Carol runs the Foundations Island Yoga Studio in Kent Island. And so she does Reiki, she does yoga, and she does trauma. And she also has been doing training programs for people to get more? Tell me, I don't understand how that works.
You dove right into it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, right?
The training programs are like, I love everything that I do. I think it's all valuable. It's all so important. Typically people come to the studio because something is not working in their lives. They get involved in the yoga. Yoga is like the secret to telling you a truth that you always knew that you had. So deep, and it's a truth that nobody else can argue with. And once you start to get those feelings, you just want to know more about it. So these training programs, they were developed, it's called YTT, which stands for Yoga Teacher Training. And it started out through Foundation School of Yoga and Yoga Alliance, but it's totally developed and morphed into this entire lifestyle program to help people kind of uncover their own truth. And once they see the beauty and getting to really know who they are without a whole lot of influence, they're kind of there forever. So we have a 200-hour program, and then we have a 300-hour program that is really, really trauma-enforced. There are two very different programs. The 200-hour helps you find your truth. The 300-hour really helps you do kind of the avoided work to finding it, right?
So like, I'm looking at my wife, right? So we just retired. And so I've been busy doing marketing and writing books and things like that. Yeah. But she was the person in my office that did all the billing. So when I stopped doing things, she stopped doing billing. So now she's sitting around trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life. So what would you say to her?
Well,
maybe you can tell her.
Not what I would say to her. It would be questions. It would be questions like, what's not working in your life right now? What are your goals, right? Kind of the basic questions like that.
My goals were to get to retirement. And now that I'm here, I'm like, okay, now what?
Oh, so how about getting to know yourself again?
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people that retire or even have life shifts like becoming a mom, or if you have a spouse that all of a sudden needs you to be a caregiver or a caregiver of your parents, all those things kind of take you away from yourself,
Absolutely.
right? And it's so nice to have a place where when you're there, you're committed to getting to know you, not just being with yourself, but actually genuinely getting to know who you are. And I think that's just a beautiful time to do that during retirement, because you can really take time to solidify everything. Not that it's not great for people that are working too, right? Because people that are working, it's busy, 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 everybody else all day. Please give me my one weekend a month. And that might be all you have to fill your cup. But it's just so beautiful when you have all that time, and not only do you get the lessons for one weekend a month, but you can spend more time diving into the big questions, the questions that bring you closer to self.
So one of the things that we've been talking about is like having a purpose. I've talked to some other people about when you retire, like your purpose had been to pay off your house, raise your kids, run a business, right? And then you retire, you're like, whoa, now what's my purpose? Now I've had the fortune of saying, okay, my purpose now shifted from being a medical doctor to being a stress reduction doctor, right? And helping people have less stress. So having people like you on to help them get rid of some of these obstacles that are keeping them from their happy place. So my wife doesn't have that luxury. So is purpose part of what you do?
Purpose is everything. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we could just take time to figure out what our real purpose actually is? A lot of times we're just handed our purpose. Like, this job makes you the most money. You're going to follow this path.
This needs to be done.
Yes.
Here I am.
Yeah, that has been her purpose all along.
Yeah, Yeah, or now I have kids and this is going to be my path, or whatever those life transitions are. But to really start to understand your purpose within those life transitions, it's literally taking the horns back and starting to steer your own life. And you can do that in any phase of life, although some certainly do prove to be more challenging if you have a full-time career and you have kids and whatever else. But again, that purpose is discovered a lot within our truth.
Well, what I've been finding is when she was working, she had to work really hard. Like, we were very busy. But it hid that idea that she didn't really have a purpose that she was comfortable with. Does that make sense? Like, you were so busy doing billing that your own purpose was kind of hidden. Like, you didn't care about finding your purpose during that time because it was hidden up by doing other stuff.
Yeah, my purpose was to get this job done.
Yeah, but now that the job's gone, now you're like, whoa, now you're kind of adrift going, I don't know. So there's a term that I learned on someone else. I was a guest on someone else's podcast, and it was called ikigai. So it turns out it's a Japanese term, and it's a way to find your purpose. And so what he said is there's 4 circles. So the first circle is what you like to do. Second is what you're good at. Third is what's good for humanity. And the fourth is what can you make money at. Fill in those circles, and where they overlap, that's where your purpose, that's your ikigai, right? So as I'm filling it out, I'm like, oh, I'm right where I'm supposed to be, right? And she has the luxury now that she can just fill in the first 3 circles, because the money part we don't worry about, right? Because we're retired, so we're okay. We were spending some time trying to put together her ikigai to say, hey, what would make sense for her to do? And so, and that would dovetail in with what you're saying.
What a beautiful analogy. I love that.
Yeah.
That is absolutely
Good, right?
gorgeous. Yeah, we use the word dharma a lot, and this is a purpose that is like,
I mean, that's an
I
Indian
want
phrase,
to
right?
tell you that there's a logical way and a beautiful plan like that. That is just absolutely beautiful. But this is a call from the universe. It just pulls your soul. You are such a beautiful example of that with your anti-stress. I mean, you believe it. It comes out of your pores. If somebody wants to know about it, they are magnetized to you. Like, you can feel that literally just pouring out of your heart when you talk about this kind of stuff. That is your dharma. I mean, you are living this, and there is nobody that's going to have you turn away. It's beyond all reason, right? And that's like, I think what we're all after is that purpose beyond all reason.
Is that how you feel about your studio and the work you're doing?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it is. I think, especially with the inner revelations, I think that it was a gift. I didn't do any of the things that I'm doing because it came easy or even because I wanted to. I was thrown into it. I never would have did yoga. I was actually a weightlifter and an adrenaline junkie. I did snowboarding, skateboarding, you know, anything that I could break a couple bones. That was my jam. But I broke too many bones and I ended up really ill. Like, my body was in a lot of pain. And I remember, I'll never forget the day, I was in my 20s and I was in pain every day, my shoulders particularly. My shoulders were locked to my ears like this. And all the doctors could have me do was keep a blanket over my feet, and I'd grab the end of the blanket and I'd try to point my toes to try to stretch my shoulders away from my ears.
Wow.
This was a long time ago, but I thought yoga was for wimps. And I was like, I'm not doing yoga. I'm a weightlifter. That wasn't who I thought I was. And I'll never forget the day I couldn't get out of bed. I was in horrible pain and something just called to me and it was like, go. And I tried hot yoga. I was in Servona Park with the lady that's one of my gurus. And it was the hardest thing I'd ever done.
It's hard, yeah.
And which I liked, right? But it's more hard up here than it is anywhere else. I had results immediately. I was sold. I literally walked out in less pain, and you know when you're in less pain what happens to your mood. It was the first time I had felt happiness in a long while from the relief of pain.
So now I was just reading this book, and it was talking about the world's religions, and it was talking about yoga. And what he said was that in the United States, people think of yoga as an exercise. And he says that's not really what yoga was designed to be. So I'm guessing you know what the real reason is. Maybe you can tell people at home.
Yes, please. And by all means, yoga is the science of the soul. It invites in any and every religion and non-religion that's out there. We can all utilize these tools to live a better life. But yoga is actually just the third limb of an 8-limb system. You have a lot of other parts of yoga as well, and a lot of different paths to follow, and it does get very complicated. But to just tell you about, there are 8 different limbs. There's the yamas, the niyamas, and then asana is the yoga that you guys know, and that's where we actually practice the poses. It's just great that it has a ton of great health benefits
what
too.
they said was that the point of yoga is to get you to their God, right? I mean, what he said was, like, think about a mountain and you're all trying to get to the peak, but there's like 8 different paths to get there. And am I getting it accurate? Is that a way to look at it?
Well, there's thousands upon thousands different paths to get there, but yoga is to help calm the body in order to sit in meditation longer.
Yeah, that's it.
And then we start bringing ourselves in a little bit tighter to things like dharana and dhyana, where you start to dial in to deeper and deeper pinpointed meditation. And it's in this meditation that you're able to become connected with all and feel the sensations of bliss or samadhi as we know it. And it really is a beautiful, beautiful part, especially if you're taking what we call shavasana at the end of every class, which is laying in corpse pose. A lot of people will say, even people that don't meditate, don't know a whole lot about it, they're like, man, I just was so relaxed. And it's because the body has went through all those energy. And there's way more to it to that.
Sure,
we could speak to every pose.
200 to 300 hours, right?
And the energetic systems that it calls upon. You know, we could speak to every pose, but just in short, that shavasana, your body is ready to
Here's
rest.
one of my questions, right? So I just did a seminar last month, which you were kind enough to come to. But one of the ladies did a talk on mindfulness. And when I hear what you're saying, it sounds like a whole lot of like mindfulness. And somehow, like, in our country, we think of mindfulness as a new thing. I'm like, no, it's been around for thousands of years. It's just practice, just called different things in other cultures.
You know, so this is actually a little bit
And
of
it's
a
very
struggle
and it works
that
great,
I have.
right?
Yeah, so I've been so fortunate to have done this for so long. I mean, I started in fitness when I was 16. When I started in fitness, I just wanted to be popular and, you know, whatever, all the wrong reasons. All the wrong reasons. I never ever would have imagined that here we are this many years later, that actually fitness deals a lot with people's trauma. It deals a lot with their psyche. It deals a lot with psychology. It deals a lot with like things that you never would have put together that long ago, right? The counter to that is I live in a world where I didn't even know people didn't know what mindfulness was, what intention was, what yoga was. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know that that world existed. And I love when people like yourself pull me out and they're like, hey, Carol, wake up. Some people don't know. And I'm like, oh, well, let me have some purpose here and share my knowledge.
So now one of the things that you did at the seminar was a Reiki sound bath. Tell her your story about the Reiki sound bath the first time you went.
Well, I have a shoulder injury, and I could feel certain vibrations penetrating my shoulder injury, and at the end of the session, it felt like someone had massaged my shoulder from the inside out. It was so relaxing, and so much of the tension and pain was taken away just by laying there and doing nothing but listening.
What was your shoulder injury from?
You wouldn't believe it if I told you. I think it was progressively. I was a softball catcher. And you know, I take collision plays at home plate, but what triggered this particular shoulder injury was I'm also a beekeeper now. That's one of my hobbies I've picked up since I've retired.
I love that hobby.
When a hive is full of honey, it's pretty heavy. And when something's heavy, you hold it close to you for the leverage, but not when it's trying to sting you. You hold it far away. And I just torqued my shoulder the wrong way.
Injury of a hero,
Yeah.
right? Injury of a hero. We need more bees. So I love what you do. Thank you for doing that.
But give us some ideas about the Reiki sound bath, what it does and how it does it. One of the things she said to me was when the vibration was going on, it actually intensified the pain initially. But then at the end, then it got better. And I'm like, it's just sound waves. What is that?
Well, it's sort of
right?
like when you're having a massage and you have a tight muscle when they dig in.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the sensation I had was the sound was digging into my shoulder.
There's a lot of interesting things that I could tell you. It's like, how weird do you want to get, right? When we have shoulder injuries, even though it was from, you can pinpoint exactly what happened. I did softball, I held this away, but the shoulder actually protects the heart. So we're talking energetic body, right? So subtle body anatomy, which is very different than Western culture anatomy. So just let's play pretend for a little bit. So when the heart is vulnerable, the shoulders start to close to protect the heart. That's something that we do automatically anyway. So when you were holding that beehive away from you, a lot of things could have happened. Your bicep could have got hurt, which means something different. Your wrist could have got hurt. You could have pulled your low back, but it was the shoulder. Right? So energetically speaking, I would put some emphasis on the heart and the heart area. And she may have been playing a certain tone that vibrated to the heart to help create some relief out of that. So that's something that I'm working on now with my inner revelations, is that I'm able to actually physically do body work on the shoulder while verbally walking you through an interactive meditation to help understand the real source of the trauma. It's so easy to be like, all right, I held a beehive, and that's totally what happened. But there's just so many other things that could have happened in our lifetime to create that one incident. And it's really cool if you're game to explore it. Not everybody's game for that, because that could lead into some things that we've been shoving down for the last 40 or 50 years or so.
Careful with ages now. But if you have not tried a Reiki sound bath, try one. Seek one out. They're around. Carol has one. You say you do it pretty often, right?
I do it very often. One of my great gurus, David Martin, he gave me this quote, and I think it's the best way to explain it. A sound bath is like a massage for your soul.
I like that.
And it
Try it out.
really
It's good
is.
stuff.
You will feel your soul find release. We live on a vibration. You're vibrating, we're all vibrating, right? The vibration emanates out. Now, if we had something else come by to just clear that vibration for you, it literally just washes away and gives you a reset. What if we had a little bit more conscious effort and say in how we decided to vibrate out in the world? It's not an easy process. It's a daily practice, but a sound bath can help you get there.
So you mentioned this earlier. You said something about inner revelations. Tell me what that is. Like, I'm interested now. Like, you piqued my interest earlier, and I'm like, okay, what's an inner revelation?
Okay, so this is something, as far as I know, I invented it. The pieces of the puzzle kind of came to me. And what I do is I'm able to bring a client in after we've established some trust and some work. I'm able to give them a meditation that is guided, believe it or not, by them, not by me. So it's a guided meditation where they do the guidance, and it's interactive. And as this interactive meditation happens, I'm able to see where the trauma comes up in the body. And we're typically processing trauma here. Once I see where it comes up in the body, I then intuitively go over and work on that area, whether it be through non-touch Reiki, touch Reiki, or Thai yoga body work, so passive stretching, pressing, palm pressing, whatever it is. But I'm able to work with this body, and it depends on the level of trauma, it depends on how, so all this is variables, right? I incorporate different types of stones. That's a whole nother alley we could go down. And then after we process the trauma, I give them a personalized sound bath, because you know in sound bath, each instrument, each tone works on a different vortex energy center, right? If this is getting weird, let me know.
Wow, this is fascinating.
I know. And then that kind of washes it away. I think strongly, and I know that this is not the popular opinion. I know this is not the popular opinion, but I have to believe this because I've seen it work. I love meditation. I love Reiki. I love all of these things, but there's a lot of fake positivity out there, which is trying to get people to bypass the hard work that they have to do to feel real enlightenment, right? You know it. There's difference when somebody comes to you and goes, I'm happy, she's happy, we're all happy, right? Versus somebody that really feels that genuine joy.
Yeah, I think you said this earlier. You get that vibe from the person, right?
Yeah, it emanates out from their heart, from their pores. Anybody can do Reiki. We're all doing Reiki right now. Your vibrations are connecting with my vibrations, and so on, right? So we all have that energetic healing power, but there's some work that has to be done, and this is the taboo part, and this is the non-popular opinion. This is where people don't want to listen, and it is, how did we really end up here, right? Do we really believe when we say, I'm happy, I'm fine? How much do you really believe
No,
that?
this is why I'm doing this, is because most people have resigned themselves to they're not going to be happy, and there's nothing they can do to make it better. So when I hear people like you and with the work that you're doing, I'm like, okay, here's one of the answers. Here's one of the ways out. Do not resign yourself to like, my life's just going to be stressed out.
Don't just fake it till you make it.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, there's other ways to get there.
Yeah.
And they've been used for thousands of years. We didn't invent this stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's been going on for a long time, and it just works. I think some people get this very superficial idea of what yoga and Reiki is, and it's like, no, it's very deep, and it takes effort. So it's not going to be the first time you do it, isn't going to be, oh my God, I'm going to be better now. But it definitely makes you feel better, and it encourages you to keep doing it and do the harder work.
And that's the struggle with really convincing people to come do this practice, because all that deep, dark stuff, you're like, nope, if I look at that, I'm gonna be sad, I'm gonna be angry, I gotta face things. But you know what? You're facing them anyway, just in a different way. You're lying to yourself, and you know the lies that you tell yourself, no matter how much you try to embed that into your psyche. Parts of your body is aware that you are not being solely honest. So the work that I do requires commitment. It's not, you're gonna come in and you're gonna do this little Reiki session and you're gonna go out feeling amazing. It's, I might blow your mind and you might be crying in your cereal tomorrow morning. But what I can tell you is it will lead you to real, genuine happiness. And I know because I've done it for myself, but I also know that not one size fits all when we're talking about the soul. And what's so beautiful about this is it allows the soul to be unique. It allows the soul to create its path coming from a place in you that you may not even be aware of yet, but you know it's true.
So I've been doing some work with clients that have had some problems with trauma, right? And one of the things, there's a book that I'd read called The Body Keeps Score. And I think you said you've read that too. You said you've been practicing that for like 10 years or something, right?
Don't tell people.
Yeah. So one of the things that he talks about in the book is that people have gone through these traumatic events and they've figured out a way to get through it. Yay, okay. But the thing they did to get through it causes problems. It has consequences. So they've made it through the horrible traumatic event, but now there's consequences if they continue to do that. And so I'm guessing that some of the work that you do will help them break out of that.
Well, first I have to tell you, The Body Keeps the Score is the foundation and the basis for my entire 300-hour program.
Yeah, okay.
We actually work with people. Linda Ciatola, if anybody knows her, she worked with the author. We have a couple people that actually worked with the author in that program.
If you spent your life doing this to try to protect yourself, and now you're 30, 40, 50, and you're still doing this to protect yourself, but now you don't need the protection anymore. So how do you get people out of that mode of saying, okay, I've been doing this for 40 years or 50 years, I don't know how to not do it, but it's causing me problems, it's causing them pain, it's causing them back pain, it's causing them stresses,
So
making it
people
war
are
on their
more
self-worth, things like that.
likely to run from pain than to run towards happiness. And I think the other problem is too, is there's the fear of the unknown, right? So general speaking, we would rather face the problems that we know than face the problems that we don't know, because there's a fear of the unknown. And the other thing about this program is when you come in and you work with us, the foundation is yoga. So who am I? Let's say we have somebody that is chronically ill, just chronically ill, that's what I'm doing. We're getting to a point where people realize that that may come from some trauma, right? Then they let go of the fact that they're chronically ill. Who are they? Who am I now? How do I behave in the world? How do I show up in the world? How do I show up for myself? And when you get somebody that's 20 or 30 years old, 20 or 30 years old, they've been living this way for so long, you almost feel like an infant again, trying to step back into the world and learn your place for the very first time. But what's amazing is in yoga, we're all trying to go back to the mind of the beginner, because it's that fresh mind that allows for infinite possibility. But then we just get so stuck from adulting and from life and from trauma and from, I always say these three things: experience, perception, and energy. That's a book that I'm working on right now, because I think those three things combined have a lot to do with how we behave in the world. But how we behave in the world and how we show up for ourselves, it's almost like two different secret societies. And I do a lot of focus on how we show up for ourselves.
Yeah, well, so I've done some work with identity, and I think one of the things that's allowed me to go from being a practicing doctor to a retired doctor was that I already had gone through the process of changing my identity. So now I'm not just a practicing physician, now I'm retired. No, now I'm an author, now I'm a speaker, now I play basketball, now I have a number of different identities, so it made the transition much easier. It's a good point that you made. Like, if you've been sick your whole life, people go, oh, that's Bill, he's the sick person. So when you're not sick, then people are like, well, who are you? Like, that doesn't even, I don't even know who you are anymore. I think that's what you were talking about, right?
Sure, and there's resistance too. My favorite are my heroes at AA. When they go to AA, all their friends are used to them drinking, right? So they get a lot of kickback. Well, it's like that on every level. When I work with people in the field of health, somebody's trying to get healthy, well, their friends don't exactly support it because they still want to go to the bar. And by the way, health includes like what you listen to. If you have a friend that gossips and you no longer want to hear their gossip, that's going to change the dynamic. How about your relationship within your health? I mean, everything shifts, and change is so scary because, again, we grab on to the things that make us feel comfortable. One of the greatest things that I've learned is the idea of nirvana isn't so much for searching for this place of bliss, it's about letting go of all of the things that keep you there. What do we grip to? What are our desires, right? We have these desires. I'm hungry, I desire food. I'm gripping to that. That's a grip, that's a need. My family grew. I need a bigger house. I'm gripping to that. And it's just grip after grip after grip. I don't like this person. I want to stay away from them. I do like this person. I want whatever that need is. All that just backs up into this robotic life that we have to live. And this is where you get people that don't even know they're alive yet. They're just chasing desires all day long. I'm hot, turn on the air conditioner, so on.
One of the things that you were talking about is when you have a lot of things, that means, I don't know how you say it.
The more things you have, the more things you have to take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if you just let go?
That's a different way of saying the same thing, because it's like, if you have a boat, now you got to take care of the boat. You know, you have this, you have that. Like, all of a sudden now you have air conditioning. Now you got to make sure the air conditioner works, right? So we have added all these things to our environment that just makes us have more things to take care of.
What if we just practiced letting go, realizing that we're in a safe spot, and just letting go of all desires? Like, maybe you do feel a little
That's very
hungry, but
Buddhist.
maybe, yeah, very much. But what do you think you're feeling when you're doing these Reiki sound bath things? You're not desiring. You're free from your own burdens.
Yeah. So I got one last question. So if you had to say one thing to our audience, what pearl of wisdom would you give them?
So I knew you were going to ask me that.
You know, you've had so many pearls that you've thrown out here today. It's been awesome.
All right.
Like, you've given us so much more depth. When someone says yoga, and you just go, oh yeah, there's yoga, and then there's all of this, right? That's the iceberg. Yoga is the tip, and you gave us the all underneath. So
Thank you so much for allowing me the space to do that. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
If I had one pearl of wisdom to offer everyone out there, and I mean this from the depths of my soul, do not be afraid of your truth. You know your truth. It is already in you. You don't need anyone to prove it to you, and you don't need to prove it to anyone. Spend time with yourself, get to know who you are, and trust in your own truth and guidance.
Ooh, that's giving me chills. I like it. Carol, thank you so much for being on the show today. You've been
Thank
freaking
you.
awesome. This is
Yeah.
great, right? And you're going to help our audience get down that happiness highway and have less stress. So make sure everybody knows where you're at. Give us your website.
I
how we can get
am
in touch with you.
Foundations Island Yoga in Stevensville, Maryland. You can just Google Foundations Island Yoga and you will find us there. We're right behind the Minuteman Press. Come by anytime. If anybody's new to yoga, I offer to meet them over there and try to explain a few things so that they can find the right yogic path that serves them best.
Excellent. So thank you for turning into the Happiness Highway podcast. It's been great having you here. We've had a great time. Terri, thank you for being here. Check us out on our website. It's the lessstresseddoc.com, or email me if you want, lessstresseddoc@gmail.com. My book's available. You can get on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And I've got a seminar coming up probably in September and October. So if you're interested, you can sign up. But thanks for listening. Sign up. Thanks for tuning into the podcast, and subscribe so we can know that you're there. And we'll see you back next time.
Drive on happiness.